Welcome to our panel webinar, The Future of Film Showcase and Real World Presents, Overcoming the Barriers of Entry to Film and TV. Our panelists will engage in an exploratory discussion of personal experiences where barriers and challenges of the film and television industries have affected their careers and how they were able to overcome them. Resources will be shared to help you navigate your career path in the industry, and we will provide insights on frameworks that will guide decision makers in supporting BIPOC creators. My name is Barbara Mamabolo. I am the programming manager at Real World Film Festival and Real World Screen Institute. It is my pleasure to introduce our panelists and moderator. Emmy-nominated Tanya Williams is the founder and executive director of Real World Film Festival and Real World Screen Institute, now in their 20th year, and Access Reelworld.ca, North America's largest recruiting database for racially diverse talent. Through these organizations, she's been able to advocate and create more access and inclusion for Canadian, Black, Indigenous, people of color in the screen-based production industries. She currently sits on Telefilm's Diversity and Inclusion Group, the Canadian Media Fund, Black Industry Leaders Group, Board of Directors for WOW Media, the Black Academy, and is one of the founders and a board member of the Black Screen Office. Tanya is based in Los Angeles. Samantha Wan is one of the creators of City TV's comedy Second Gen. The groundbreaking series was nominated for a Canadian Screen Award for Best Comedy Series and Best Rookie Script by the Writers Guild of Canada. At 23, she became the youngest creator to have a primetime series in Canada. Samantha was also commissioned to create Omni TV's first digital series, Sudden Master. The Kung Fu series accumulated awards worldwide, including Best Action Series, Women with a Vision Award, and a Rocky nomination. In 2018, Samantha was honored with Real World's Trailblazer Award for her work. Two-time Emmy Award-winning producer Tanya Green has been working in the animated arena for over 15 years. In that time, she has overseen and managed many projects from development to final delivery for broadcasters and streaming services all over the world. Tanya fell in love with animation while working on the series Atomic Betty at Breakthrough Films, and following her passion, managed a variety of series at the company until moving to head up production at 9 Story Media Group. During her tenure at 9 Story, she rose to VP. As VP of production at Brown Bag Films, a 9 Story company, she produced hundreds of hours of animation television, including both the Emmy Award-winning preschool series Peg and Cat and Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood for PBS, as well as rebooting such legacy properties as The Magic School Bus Rides Again for Netflix. In her current role as head of preschool for Mainframe Studios, she develops and produces content for the young and young at heart audiences. Before becoming smitten with animation, Tanya worked on a number of performing arts projects, dramatic series, feature films, and documentaries for various broadcasters in Canada. Her experience includes everything from carrying camera equipment to production managing crews overseas, all in the name of creating stimulating and engaging television for children and adults all over the world. Our moderator, Zarin Bushra, the Director of Operations at Future of Film Showcase, is an actor and filmmaker based in Toronto. Her most recent film, White Elephant, earned numerous awards, including the Standout Actress in a Feature Film Award at Real World. Zarin has a wide range of experience in multiple areas of production, including directing, assistant directing, content creation, marketing, and operations. And finally, our Real World Outreach and Marketing Manager, Pahou Bains. Born and raised in India, Pahou Bains is an experienced journalist covering film, culture, style, and identity. A Columbia University graduate, she has worked in the magazine industry for over 8 years, writing for publications like Vogue India, Wired, Billboard, and GQ India. She moved to Toronto in 2017 and most recently worked at Fashion Magazine as their culture and lifestyle editor. Having covered the entertainment industry in Canada for 4 years, highlighting emerging talent, inequity in the industry, and diverse storytellers, she now brings her passion for film to Real World, where she works on sponsor, industry, and media outreach, as well as industry initiatives and events. Pahull is going to begin with a brief overview of our important resource, Access Reelworld. Thanks, Pahull.
Thanks, Barb. Thank you to everyone for being here. As Barb said, I'm just going to take you guys through a quick overview of Access Reelworld, which is Canada's largest searchable database for Black, Indigenous, and people of color in the screen-based industries in Canada. I'm sure everyone in this Zoom, everyone watching has heard far too many times, we want to hire racially diverse talent, but we just don't know where to look for them. It's been an excuse for a really long time that a lot of industry gatekeepers have sort of been hiding behind. And in addition to that, there are so many unconscious biases that we have to deal with, because there are gatekeepers who believe that racially diverse talent they don't have the skill sets that they're looking for, or they're just not as qualified as what they're looking for. So these are some of the biases that exist in the industry, and to challenge that and to kind of remove that excuse out of the equation is why we need databases like Access Reelworld, which really provide an overview and such a great look at the racially diverse talent that we have in the country. I'm going to screen share so that you can take a look at the website. And so it's a completely transparent and searchable platform, which is really important to us, and I'll get into the reasons for that. If you look at the member directory, we wanted this database to be searchable via as many parameters as possible. So you can search by city, by province, you can search by profession. We have over 100 different categories listed here, from above the line to below the line talent, because we wanted to make sure that crew is represented, production staff is represented. So you have everyone from cinematographers to electric, animation, art director, camera composers, costume designers, festival programmers, the hair department, makeup department, line producers. So we're really trying to represent every level of the industry and focus on getting as many racially diverse members of the industry represented here as possible. You can also search by ethnicity. You can search by language. Sometimes we have international productions that are shooting here, and they might be looking for someone with a specific language or skill set. So that's something that they can search for. We also want to make sure that people who have any professional affiliations, if they're with any unions or guilds, you can easily search for that as well, whether it's the DGC or IATSE or the WGC. So we really wanted to make this as easy to search and easy to use as possible. The website is fully searchable and accessible in French as well, with just a click of the button. And as you can see, it's really important for us that we're representing people from across the country. So you'll see people from Vancouver, we have Ontario, we have people from New Brunswick, and we're really representing a wide range of fields as well, from cinematographer to producers, to graphic designers, to, of course, actors and producers. And just a quick look at a profile to show you what that looks like. To really get the most out of Access Reelworld, it's important to really make your profile as robust as possible with as much information about yourself that you can share. So here, we have a little introduction to this filmmaker. We have a snapshot of the previous projects that he's worked on, some of the incredible people that he's worked with. So you get a really good overview of his career so far. If you have eligibility to work outside of Canada, sometimes people can work in the US, or they might have approvals to work in the UK. It's really important to add that as well. So for anyone looking to hire, they have that information right away. Information on how long the person has been in the industry. And you can also put in all of the links to your Vimeo, to your website, any social media links that you want to share. They're linked here for easy access. A person can also upload their demo reel or their actor's reel or any other information that they wish to share, as well as the fields that they work in. So one aspect of Access Reelworld is that it is a hiring and recruiting platform. So members of the database, you have to be Black, Indigenous, or a person of color to be a member, but anyone can post to the database. Anyone can post a job, and these listings will be viewable only to people who are members of the site. And it's very easy to quickly, apply to the jobs. And if the position has been listed by someone who is a member of Access Reelworld, you have the option of contacting that member directly as well. Now going back to the transparency of this database, that was really important to us, because we don't want this to be a tool just for companies or just for white gatekeepers or industry leaders to use it as a tool for recruiting. That is one aspect of it, definitely. And we hope that people use it and as many racially diverse people get hired as possible. We're all for that. But we also want this to be a platform of engagement and community. And so we're hoping that the Black, Indigenous, and people of color who are on the database use it to reach out to each other, because that's just as important, especially in the film industry or really any creative industry. Who you know is so important. It's all about networking. It's all about the connections that you have. So we're hoping that people use this platform to engage with each other, to reach out to their peers in the industry, especially during the pandemic when we don't have the option to be at networking events or meeting people. This is such a great way to reach out. You can search by the city that you're based in. And especially for emerging filmmakers, this is such a valuable resource, because if you're just starting out or you have maybe just a year of experience, and there are people on the database, you'll see a range. We have people who have maybe 20 years of experience, and then we have people with just a year. They're out of school and they're just starting out. So for people like that who are just starting out and looking for experience and they want to work on a set, they want to get working, this is great. You can search by province, reach out to someone in your city and say, hey, I love your work. I admire your work. Are you looking for an assistant? Can I come and shadow you? There's so many great ways to use this tool, and it's really up to the members how much they choose to engage with it and how deeply they really want to use it to build those connections. So the tool is there, and it's really up to the people how much they choose to engage and reach out and build those connections, which are especially important right now. So that's a quick overview of the database and all the different ways that you can use it. And then I'm going to just pass it over to Zarin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for that, Pahull. I think that was a really, really informative discussion about how Access Reelworld can really be used to further your careers. I'm so happy to be here today with Samantha, Tanya, and Tonya, and really excited to sort of pick their brains about how they can help you guys further your careers and the experience that they've had as well. You guys do have the option to comment your questions on the YouTube link. We really want to know what you're thinking and what questions you want answered. Jacqueline is going to help facilitate, transfer those questions over to us so we can see them and relay them directly to Samantha, Tanya, and Tonya. To start off, though, I'd love to know a little bit about how you guys got started in film, any barriers you might have faced, and how you think that really affected your careers as you were starting off. So if Samantha, you want to start.
Sure. I also just want to emphasize too to everyone watching that Access Reelworld is free. There's no sign up payment kind of thing. So literally it will cost you nothing and benefit you a lot to do that. So I just want to make sure people know that as well. In that. How did I get started? I went to theater school as an actor. Then I got started. I was lucky. I got an agent when I got out. And then started in a little tiny horror film, and made a lot of friends with the crew there. And one of my friends was Amanda Joy, who's my co-creator on this television series that I currently have, Second Gen. And we were very frustrated by not having enough BIPOC representation. And we like to tell the story that we got locked in a car, which is true, because we were playing Japanese schoolgirls and it was a horror film, so we were kidnapped and they accidentally locked us in the car, and we were like, maybe we need to make our own work. Maybe we need to do something more than, getting locked in cars. So that's kind of the beginnings of my story, the barriers that I kind of faced. I'm trying to keep this quite efficient for you guys. I think the barriers when I was pitching Second Gen was we were literally told when we pitched it that no one was interested in BIPOC. They literally said, I don't think anyone's interested in watching a story about you, about that. Because we were just talking about being second generation, and that was 6 years ago. So I do think that is changing in the sense of I'm pitching a new series now, and that definitely is of interest to people. Whether or not I think that is a lot of lip service remains to be seen sometimes. The only thing I think though is that even if it is lip service, you can use that against them because they don't want to look bad. So I don't care if it's lip service. I will then hold people up to that, because I don't care whether you really care. I just want you to at least pretend to care so I can hold you to it. And that's that's where I think we're at, that we're at least in a place where I can hold you to pretending to care. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because, obviously there's a lot of, it's very trendy to be BIPOC friendly now, and some reactions might not be completely genuine, but if our work gets out there, that's all that matters, right? Like it's exactly what you said, use it against them to make sure your work gets out there. But yeah, Tanya, do you want to give us a little overview about how you got started as well, and how maybe your experience might have changed from when you started versus now, or if there are things that are still kind of in place and that we need to dismantle?
Well, I think what's really interesting is my career started a lot earlier than Samantha's. So imagine that there were no streaming platforms at all, and the only people you could work for were like CBC. There was very limited broadcast in Canada, and very little work for all actors of any color. So being someone Black and being a woman at the time of the late 70s was almost an impossible challenge. So I think the way my way forward to success has always been, I don't really focus on what the challenges and the barriers are, because they're so insurmountable that it would take me all day just to focus on those things. So because I was born in 1958, where Black and woman was like, there was no like everything was a barrier. So my thing was always strategizing how I would get ahead. And I just assumed, I knew the barriers were there, but I just didn't focus on those things. So training, as Samantha says, I think is number one and important. Having a passion. I went to Ryerson and studied drama on that program there. I did everything that you do, you get the agent. And I know it sounds funny now when you've been in the business a long time, and I know people watching this are like, yes, but how did you get the agent? We always jump to these, and then I got the agent, and then it was an easier process for me, because at that moment you have to play whatever cards you have. Some agencies were just realizing, oh, we have 0 Black people in our agency. So I was able to be someone who said, I am trained, I am looking for representation. And by then I'd done a few commercials, because while I was in high school, not that I was thinking of the trajectory of being an actress later on, but I had taken a modeling course. And from that course, there was an agency built around it. So people from that course, they would send out on TV commercials. So I'd already done a few TV commercials before I started the drama program. So I think it's great to listen to all of us and the things that we're going to say, but you should take them and integrate them intelligently in your own mind and try and figure out, how does that work with what I have? How does that, if I can't take a drama course because I can't afford to go to college or university or whatever, what can I do? And you guys are the luckiest generation. You have the internet. I'm trying to take you back. We would have to take photos, print them, carry them around with us, hand them out at auditions you went to. That cost money. That was more money then than it is now. You can build a website for almost nothing and get yourself out there and do a lot of stuff. There's so many courses, free courses, online, that people can be taking, and you should just take advantage of anything that is around you. But I would say a lot of the challenges are the same. I don't really think they're that different than they were when I started out. I think women still fight for their place, being heard in this industry. And then I think if you're a person of color, and by the way, one of the reasons I don't like to use the word BIPOC is BIPOC don't have the same challenges and issues. Shadeism is a big part of that as well. So Black people have different issues and challenges and barriers, and South Asian people and Asian people do, and that Indigenous people do. Not that one is harder and one is easier, but the issues are very different. So it is important that once you embrace your race, and you should, because that's how you're going to be hired because of your race, you should be trying to figure out, what advantages can I take, and can I develop? I think it is wonderful. If you're going to be an Asian person, you should learn how to do some martial arts, because there is still a stereotype, and there's some great roles. I mean, everybody should learn martial arts anyway, but it's a great to know that you can expand your career by the different skill sets that you can develop. And I know we're kind of just I was talking more about actors, but I think it's the same when you're a filmmaker. I think you should learn what it's like to be an actor, learn what it's like to try and write something, because I think you'll have more sensitivity and understanding of how difficult these different professions are. So I hope that answers some of that question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you touched on a lot of really important points, and especially so, I think, regarding the importance of actually reaching out and being proactive regarding your career. So I think Tanya Green, I kind of want to ask you a question about that. You obviously are a very successful producer. If you want to touch a little bit on how, like Tanya mentioned, BIPOC people who didn't have the opportunity to go to don't have a whole lot under their belt yet. How might they be able to reach out to your organizations? And if Tanya, you want to follow up after Tanya, regarding that as well, how can they reach out? What skill sets, in addition to the things that Tanya mentioned, might be beneficial for you to be able to look at? And yeah, like we'd like to bring you on as a PA or help you find someone to shadow or something like that. What resources might be in place? Oh, you're muted.
Oh, your mic's on, Tanya.
Thank you. We've been talking a lot about that, and in doing mentorships and pairing people with buddies and that kind of thing, of like getting someone in from who maybe not having a lot of experience, but they have a lot of energy, and having them come in and be paired with somebody or someone who's junior out of school, giving them, that kind of mentorship while they work through something as they, if they want to be an art director, but they're right out of school and they want to, learn the ropes, but they don't have enough experience, getting them in as a designer, but then, mentoring them with an art director, pairing them with an art director who can help guide them and how they become that. We also have speaker series every other Friday, and we bring in people to talk about how they've reached the point in their career, what they did, so that our team can ask questions and they can get resources from them. So that's been really successful as well. And really our team has really enjoyed that. And as we expand our growth of our companies growing, and we're hiring a lot of people, we're looking at, bringing in people who maybe are just out of school or have just an incredible thirst for learning. And I'm always looking for someone who wants to learn, who wants to grow. And if you have that energy, you can learn anything, in my mind. Like if you really want to do that, let's just give somebody a chance. And I feel like if you've got people who've been successful or in that level in their career, to really engage with and emerging artists and emerging talent, because they need guidance. They, have a coffee with somebody. So I mentor a few people through WIFT, Women in Film and Television. And so I'm always telling them, reach out to people who, ask them for a coffee, because anyone will go for a coffee, even a Zoom coffee these days. And it's always helpful to get that feedback from somebody. So we're encouraging that with, I do that with my mentors or my mentees. And I was lucky to have a mentor to let me, bug her whenever I needed. And, so few women in the industry, when I work in kids, so there's a ton of women in that side of the industry. But when you go into features, when I was a lowly PA, there was just, we were low rung. There weren't very many, women at the top of that food chain. And so asking someone to go, for coffee was a lot more daunting. And now I feel like I want to give back, because someone took time to be with me. And so I want to have people, I want to give back to, if you want to be a producer, I'm happy to sit down with you for half an hour and talk about what you need to do, read your script, even if you're looking at pitching a show, and give you feedback. Like I feel like we should, as we get further along in our career, giving back to the community in general, to be, how do we help you? Because the world needs new voices, and the voices that haven't been able to have their voice heard, they need to be heard. And we're in this level now that we should be able to give back, because someone helped us. So why don't we give back to that? And I think that our company is definitely trying to do mentorships and internships, and really giving fresh voices and new kids into the industry that leg up as we crew up for new stuff. Hope that answers the question. I
definitely did. I think follow-up question, I think, from someone on YouTube. On the topic of networking and reaching out to find work, could anyone share their insights on how to craft a successful cold call or email that could open the door for entry-level opportunities? So I think that's a question for really all three of you, as you work within a good amount of things. What's your answer for that?
I'm so glad that question came up, because I was like, oh, I really want to jump onto what Tanya said about like copies. I'm like, I got answers, practical answers on these kinds of things. I'll start with the coffee, like asking for the coffee date, like basically reaching out. Almost anyone will say like yes, but like what actually makes those coffee dates turn into something fruitful is like make sure you help that person help you by having really specific things. If you just go like, I don't know what to do, then it's really hard to help you. I just got to tell you a million things. Whereas if you really specifically know, okay, I have a script and I want to produce it, I need to know first steps. Then that person can specifically give you information, and more people are willing to help you in that way. So like when you're reaching out for that coffee, if you can be like, honestly, generally just like, hey, I saw you on this, give some information that you know about them. They're not just a random person. Like you look them up. Like, I saw you at this thing. I love that you made like Daniel the Tiger. Like, I think it's so great. Like the singing, I was on that very briefly. Like give a reference that you know what they do, and that you know that they also, like, if you're like, I'm into children's animation, I just wrote this script, I think it'd be really helpful to hear, you know, what your thoughts are to do that, so that that person knows how to help you, that they're also the right person to help you, that you're not just reaching out and grabbing anybody out there is like the way to make that successful. I always still, when I send out those emails, have to do an apology pass. All my first drafts always has some sort of apology of like, if you could just, I'm really sorry, I don't want to bug you. Do that. So write that. I can't not write that when I first start, but then do the pass where you take it all out. Take out the apologies. Take out all of those things. Take out all of them. And make sure that email is, like, when you look at it, that it is really readable. Like don't make it concise. Make it to the point, so that, because many people are busy. So like make it pretty to the point. Hi, this is who I am. I know you from this, and your experience in this means that I think it would be really helpful to get your information on this. Could we have a coffee? The end.
Mm-hmm.
Meet them. Have your goals of like what you want to get out of that meeting, which is like what information is going to be most useful to you. And then in terms of if you hope that person's going to offer you to be your producer or be your director or whatever, let them offer that to you. But if you're really on the ball of like asking the right questions and being proactive about it, if they are in a position where they have the time, they'll offer it. If they're interested, they'll offer it likely. But you just have to be that kind of efficient. Also understand that when you're reaching out to people for coffees and things like that, we're really busy. So it's okay to follow up. I actually super appreciate it. You're never bothering me. I'm always like, oh, I did not see your email out of the 100 emails the other day. So you also have to battle that voice. It's like, I don't want to bug them or whatever. Just bug them.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah.
I was also going to stay with that. Understand the generation of the person you're speaking to too. So someone in their 50s and 60s, someone in their 20s and 30s, someone who's in their 40s, you need to learn a little bit about them. I don't want to go to coffee with anybody. And it does not mean that I don't want to give you information. It's just that time that it's going to take me to put myself together, get in my car, drive to where I have to go. Just even if I have 15 minutes of coffee with you, it's still going to suck up 2 hours of my day, maybe. Mm-hmm. So I am really responsive if you send me a direct email. And people always ask me, how do you have such a huge network of people, Tanya? It's because I've always done really direct. It's a phone call. It's a thing. I take almost none of your time, and I'm asking a very specific question. So at the time when I was trying to find an agent, the kind of thing I would have done is I contact that specific agent and I go, could you recommend 4 great photographers? I'm trying to get my pictures done. You don't even have to be with an agent. They actually love that is what I'm asking them. And they immediately would say, here are 4 photographers that we use all the time. Thank you. I have made an entry. You have to build a relationship. I think I'm in my 60s. My generation knows it takes a long time to build a relationship. I find a lot of people email me in their 20s and they're like, they want to be my best friend after hello. I'm like, it's not the way it works. So after I take the pictures, do you see how now I'm set up to thank you so much for recommending the photographer. I ended up going with this person you recommended and just wanted to show you the picture that we actually did. They're going to probably get back to me and go, that's a really great picture. That's it. Stop.
Yes.
Now you move on. You want another thing. I'm thinking about taking a class at this coach, this teacher, is this someone that's really great? Have you had any of your clients stay with this person, or is there someone else you'd recommend? They've always responded right back because they know I'm taking their advice and I'm building a relationship. So by the time I get around to, I've now studied with that coach for several weeks. Thank you so much for turning me on to them. If there's ever an opening in your agency, I just want you to know I'm looking for representation, whatever. By then, they know I know how to take direction. They know I know how to listen. I have proven myself over a certain level of time. So it's not about, hi, here I am. I'm a filmmaker. I need an agent. Here's my package. Pick me. It's too much at one time. They need to, especially when you have an agent, a manager, or even a production company you want to work with, it's not just about your project. They want to know a little bit about you. What kind of person are you? Are you an annoying, nagging person? Because nobody wants to work with that kind of a person. Are you kind of coming to them bit by bit with specific questions that you're getting great answer, you're getting these answers and that you're responding to those. So that's part of how you also get into this industry, and train yourself. You're right, Samantha just said something. Don't sit down at coffee and kind of be like, tell me everything. What do I need to do to be successful? It's like, you might as well ask them, what is the cure for cancer and how do we solve world peace? It's it's an unanswerable question. None of us knew we would even be at the success we are today. It's not like we knew that when we started out. It is a slow, drudgery, step-by-step, clawing your way through everything, the quagmire, to get to one rung where you celebrate that success and then you claw your way to the next one. It is a process. And I think it's best to approach it in that way and plan out your business plan in that way. Learn about the award shows. This is stuff you do on your own. Find out what show is doing what, where is it going, who produced it. Learn about the people in the industry. Do they like horror genre? Do they like comedy? What is their favorite? Who are the people they like to work with? Study those people who they like to work with. It's a lot putting a plan together. This is not the easy credit, that you think in school. You've chosen the hardest credit of all. This is astrophysics.
Yeah, and I love how specific, Tanya, like your ask was like, what are 4 photographers? Because it's easy. It's so easy to help you then. Make it easy. Like, it's so specific and it's so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was really great advice. Kind of barreling off of that, we have another question. So this person works full time and can't afford to drop their job while they're looking for these internship opportunities to get experience. What are some ways that you guys would recommend that they get their foot in the door? Obviously, the advice about just cold emailing and asking for a coffee or having really specific asks is great. But are there any specific opportunities that you might know of that would help people who are sort of looking to get into part-time first while maintaining an income? Because obviously there's a lot of people out there who just can't drop everything and just PA for free and do nothing else while they're looking to get into the industry. So how are some ways that you might think would help to balance that?
I'll jump in I'll start with this. That's a very hard question because that question I get all the time. You have to choose a priority. And if your priority is to get in this industry, then your job has to work around the priority. If your priority is you have this full-time job and it pays for your mortgage and it's giving you a lifestyle, that becomes your priority, then this is a very difficult industry to get into. So you've heard the stories all the time. Certainly writers have taken security jobs in parking lots at night so that they'll be available for this. People have worked just weekend jobs. People create jobs where they're working on the internet, and they pick their hours. You have to choose the job that's going to feed the goal, which is this industry. So if you get that free PA job working for 6 weeks, and you have to think you can't just do free job from free job. The free job is going to take you, and you have to be very specific about the ones you're choosing, to whatever level. And that just becomes smart, that no one can give you what that is. then you have to sacrifice, quit the whatever job. That's just the sacrifices that not just you, but every single person in its industry has done. I'll even tell you something that's even scarier. I was in Canada making good coin, and I stopped that to move to Los Angeles, where I had no gigs and but I prepared for it. I had to save money ahead of time and make that move and plan out that move of how long I could survive here to make it, turning down jobs in another country because it was not lucrative at that time for me to be taken seriously in the US if I was going to keep bopping back and forth when they needed me. So these are just hard choices. I could have made that gamble and I could have lost. I don't believe there's any lose. It just changes the trajectory of your life. But I think it's very hard to want your cake and eat it too. I think it's going to be very difficult for you to want that full-time job and that great lifestyle, whatever it is it's providing you, and also go, but why can't I find the jobs that will just fit around my other job? I mean, yeah, if you find that answer, give it to all of us.
I have some resources I'd love to share as well. So a program I did that I've also found was really helpful is called CSARN. I'm going to type it in the chat here, and then maybe Zarin, you can share it. It is for us talking about mentorships. It's to employ senior. It's a program that employs senior artists. So if you know someone in your field who you would love to be mentored by, who's over 50 years old, CSARN will pay them to mentor you. And so, and then the CSARN will also cover like what those coffees are, like the cost of the coffee. They'll also cover like the cost of like we didn't get to do it, but we were going to go to Stratford. So they were going to, CSARN like has a small budget that will cover like, okay, here are the tickets so that you and that mentor can go and like meet up monthly, and you come up with a plan together, and then you have someone mentor you. So it's not making you money, but it's not costing you money, and it's a mentor to help you. I think that's a program I super recommend, and I also love it because it also helps employ older artists as well. So that's a program that I would recommend if you're in the union for ACTRA or the DGC. Well, I'm guessing potentially many of you aren't, but if you are, I'll also throw out there because most people don't know this. ACTRA, AFBS, our insurance, they provide scholarships that will pay for you to do other education in other ways. Also, so is the DGC. They also have a bursary for that in order to do that. Then the other thing that I would say too is, yeah, like Tanya said, it's really hard to split yourself up both ways, but I also understand that like maybe you have a mortgage, maybe you have kids, maybe you're just like a millennial who's like, I'm never gonna make any, never gonna own a house, and never gonna have anything. Like it's rough. What I've seen a lot of people do who like can't for financial reasons like fully like quit a job or something is they do chunks. So they're like, I'm gonna work really fucking hard for 6 months, and so that I can take 2 months off to write my script. Like give yourself a chunk of time that you give off to just go full balls to the wall with this, right? Like you do need that time to go full balls to the wall. So like then work really hard, save that money, and then give yourself a chunk of time to work on that script. If you're a screenwriter, that's usually the easiest one, or, to film your film. Like you do need a chunk of time. So if you can at least try and make that work within your schedule so that, you're still financially safe, but you have some time to really push as an artist, that I think that's also like what I would recommend.
That's great advice. And I think like CSARN, I didn't know about that. And I think there's a lot of great stuff out there now that wasn't there, decades ago that allow people for all of this. So that's fine. I knew people back in the day who, as you just said, worked hard for 4 years saving up so that they could then have that nest egg and then follow their dream. So at some point you have to save up money.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, you guys are both on the right track. You can balance it at first for sure, but at the end of the day, you can't have 2 full-time jobs. You're going to have to pick one or the other once you sort of decide which one's more important. To sort of follow up on that, Tanya Green, a question about how young professionals who are just starting out in film and TV, how can they handle situations that make them uncomfortable? So whether it's about race or gender, religion, how can they sort of be in an environment that might be pretty majority white? How are they going to really tackle the situations and have those conversations with their white counterparts or their colleagues about how things that might make them uncomfortable and whatnot. And obviously, Sam and Tanya, you can hop in as well, but I think it's a question that might be really helpful to have Tanya hop in on first.
Sure. I mean, I think depending on where you're working and when you're in a studio environment that I kind of work in, we have a really great HR team, and we have really great management structure that you can feel comfortable. Like, hopefully you work in an environment where you're comfortable with someone who's above you, that you can go and speak to how you're feeling. It's like it's an open door policy. At Mainframe, we have open door. People can come and talk about whatever is concerning them, and we will do our utmost to make sure that people are happy and feel comfortable, and that there should be, in most places that you work in, there should be policies in place so that you are able to work in an environment that makes you feel safe and valued. And we have that, and we take it very seriously. And so I'm always encouraging my team, like, let us know what you need, and we'll do what we can to give you the space you need, and making sure that you're feeling comfortable. We're not in a space right now, everyone's at home, so it's a different kind of making sure everyone's feeling safe and secure in from their place of their residence. But at studio spaces, I've always worked in places where we made that kind of our priority of giving that space and making sure everyone felt that they were comfortable. But I would say try to hopefully find someone who in the environment that you're in, that you can trust to talk to, that will hear your concerns and take those to the people that can make active change, and really tell them about it. Because I think that sometimes people don't realize it, and I feel like you really need to go, especially in an environment that isn't as diverse as it needs to be. They won't think about it, and they need to be told. So I think trying to really be confident and comfortable in yourself, and be like, I'm going to go tell somebody this. And I think the things are changing, which is good, but really find someone in that, HR department, or someone who's above you, or even just a colleague that you feel comfortable talking to, that you feel can come with you if you feel that it's not comfortable enough, to help support you, finding that support system within that space for you, so that you can feel like you're doing it. Everyone should feel safe wherever they are and valued. And some people may not, even think about it. And it's not an excuse. You have to just make sure that they hear you and that they understand. And that might mean getting a buddy to go with you. That might mean talking to the producer at the very top. Just whatever makes you feel comfortable, but use your voice and making sure that people hear you. And no one should feel like they can't speak where they are and talk about what they need.
Yeah, and if Sam and Tanya, you want to hop in with how you might have dealt with that in the past.
Yeah, the past. Okay. Let's go. I've dealt with it so many times, and the problem too, I find is I don't. It's so ingrained in me, like the racism or sexism and stuff. I don't even realize it until like maybe 2 days later, and I feel crappy. Like, people are like, say it in the moment. I'm like, I just accepted it. I just accepted it, and I didn't think about it. And now I feel crappy. Now it feels weird because it's been 2 days later. And it always gets, so I'm like, one, if that happens, it's okay. And you also need those people around you, because you get used to being gaslit, where people around you tell you that's not a problem. So you need some good friends around you who are like, it is a problem. You are not crazy. That is the first thing, realizing that. And then, I have I've had to lean on allyship of men or white people in the project who will also help speak up for me, because it is true, I become a bothersome, and I will speak up for myself. I do have that power, but to be honest, when I've become most successful is when I've found those allies in my project who hopefully have a bit more power, or sometimes they're just whiter male or something, and they just, I don't know, people take it more seriously. It's really frustrating, but they are also being allowed voice for me, because it's hard. And as much as I try to speak up, don't be so hard on yourself on how hard it is, because the suppression is real. And if you're like, oh, why can't I just do it? I shouldn't need other people to help me. You do right now. You just do. And hopefully, if there's other people of color, you have allyship there as well. And for those who are hiring, that's why you need more than one, because if you're alone, it's really hard to speak up. It's so, so hard. And that's also people who are like, how can I be a better ally? Like, be there for the people of color to help speak up for them. If they have an idea, if they have something, if you see them shot down, speak up. Like, don't speak over them. That's not the same. Not the same thing. But, like, if they reach out to you for help, like, be someone that they feel that they can reach out to help for, who's going to understand.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing.
And to that point, like I agree with you. Like sometimes early in my career, we're feeling like, oh, that happened to me, and I didn't even think about it because I just dealt with it in that moment, and then I didn't say anything about it ever. But like it happens, you go home and you're like, you realize this really bothers me. Try and kind of have the courage to go and talk about it, even if it's 2 days, 3 days later. Like it just needs to be voiced, and find those allies to help you if you're not comfortable. But yeah, don't worry if it wasn't in the moment something that matters. Change only happens if we band together to force the change to happen.
I was just going to say, for me, it's I have no problem speaking up about something. I do it privately, though. I'm not somebody who would, if someone says something and it's in a group, I don't see the value of saying it there because it becomes confrontational. It becomes, I've never seen that as a valuable thing. So I wait till that is over. I pull the person aside. I sit them down like one-on-one privately. And I tend to be like, I don't know if this was your intention or not, but when you said this or when you did that, I found that really offensive to me. I found that really productive for me. People have gone, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean that, whatever it is they're going to say. And then it hasn't actually happened sort of again. But there's also a line between, I'm not sure we're at a phase right now where people are necessarily discerning about what is racism, what is sexism, because I also I was brought up in England and I have a really dry sense of humor. And they are things that are just, especially in the entertainment industry, you build rapport through the off-color jokes that we tell. And there is a difference, though, between kidding around, and joking, and where people are trying to harm you and hurt you. And I think we need to get comfortable with that. These are different things, in the same way that, like the N-word will be used by Black guys hanging out and speaking whatever. It's not used in other circles. And I think you need to learn your tribe or your group or your people and what is acceptable and not acceptable. But I mean, just this morning, all over the news was the firing of the Teen Vogue editor, who they found something she put on social media 10 years ago when she was 17 years old. And so she's paying for it even now and has to lose her job. There's just like, none of us will say anything, and none of that rapport. I mean, I always felt like comedy actually comes out of us insulting ourselves and other people. That's what makes the joke. So at some point, we have to look at things as to what is just being funny and pulling each other's leg and making a joke, and what is something that you feel you have been hurt, it has harmed you and causing you, distressed or holding you back because of someone who is seriously hates Black people or hates Asian people, and they are making your life a living hell. And I think we have to be discerning about what that is, or you'll end up being that person that people don't want to work with at all, because you are literally bringing up every point about everything all the time. And it's exhausting for other people who feel like there's nothing I can say that, that you won't be criticizing.
Yeah, I think it's also how you bring it up too, right? Like Tanya says, like you it's not accusatory. I think like because most of the time, I think these things are microaggressions. I think we're living in a time of microaggression. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't have to become a massive confrontation, but be like, hey, when you said that, like, that kind of wasn't cool.
That was offensive to me, So.
Like, you can just
situations where there's different variants of whether it's a microaggression or something really harmful to someone. And like you guys said, it's definitely about how you bring it up. And
yeah, I'm not a believer that you should go on social media and tell the world that this person said this to you and that you were offended. I don't see how that's valuable to.
Yeah, more so about having conversations with where it's required and how it's going to be the most beneficial. We are almost out of time, though. So I do want to squish in just one more question about Access Reelworld and how it can help.
Can I just say one thing though, just to the people, because I'm the opposite. I'm the one who's always like, this is a joke. It's not offensive, but I somehow feel hurt. If you do feel a little bit hurt, that is true, and keep to that. Like, don't like take it out. I'm going to be a bother and that stuff. If you do feel it, parse it out, talk to a friend, and still it's worth talking about.
Absolutely.
In that way.
Yeah.
For sure. So to wrap this all up, how do you guys think Access Real World can benefit anyone looking to get their first jobs? If you're a writer director, how can they pitch to producers on Access Real World regarding their projects, or how often do you think that people actually also get hired off of Access Real World? I think Pahull can jump in on that as well, and I think that could help us wrap up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want people to realize that Access Real World or any such tool or database is not necessarily just about landing a job. Like, that is definitely one aspect of it, but also, like we all have talked about, the networking, the reaching out to people, the connecting, and just like sort of getting that foot in the door and making that first connection. And one of the examples of that is an event that we did last month that Real World did with the Canadian consulate in Los Angeles. And basically what that did was introduce creatives here in Canada to executives in Hollywood, and just like kick off these, one-on-one FaceTime personal interactions. And some of the participants for that 2-day event were selected through Access Real World. So like that's an example of some of the opportunities that you get that might not necessarily translate to a job right away. Doesn't mean you're getting hired for something tomorrow, but it's opening the door up and connecting you to people in a way that you probably didn't even think about. So that's one of the things I would say.
I also think we forget that, remember, it was just a few years ago that many of us were only seeking jobs, and now we're hiring people. So that also works in the industry, that we're not just creating a platform for others always to hire. You yourself will be looking to get hired, but there will be times you're looking to hire people for the things that you want. And I think we forget how powerful that is. I mean, Samantha, you are a hirer now. You're creating, you are creating projects, and the same with Tanya. You are creating projects. We're hiring at Real World all the time, and people are always calling us for people. So it's an interesting position to be in, that no matter where you are in the industry, even if you're at an emerging level, I bet you someone just starting out is like, oh, you know what I need? I need a graphic designer. So this is building of the community of that. What we loved at Real World was Access Real World was less about getting white people to hire us. It was also for us to hire each other. And that even though white people may not know where we are, people of color didn't know where each other were either. So it was creating that.
And people really tend to work in silos in this industry. Like, everybody has a network of people that they reach out to whenever they have a project. Like, someone might have a list of 2 or 3 art directors, and they only work with them on every project. And now they're starting to think, okay, I need to expand that circle. I need to look beyond my immediate circle. And so Access Real World is a great tool for people. Go in and just search art director. You'll come up with a whole list of names of people that you maybe had no idea were even in your city or had worked on a project that you really liked. And so this is a way to facilitate those connections and start thinking beyond your immediate networks that you've been relying on for so long.
And join things. I forgot that part. Join board of directors, join committees, join things that are even unrelated to exactly what your need is, because you'll widen your circle as well.
It's a very good point. I mean, I'm on the board for WIFT, Women in Film and Television, and we're always looking for new members. And we have lots of programs for emerging and established and experienced. And so it is a great place to network. We do tons of networking events, and there's lots of workshops for people. So it's definitely a good place to meet people in all areas of the industry, which is great.
I'm sure FOFS has board members, and they're always reaching out too.
Yeah, it's been super helpful for us to have people who really know what they're doing sort of guide us through our own organization. And also, if you're looking to get into the industry, FOFS is a place where we start careers. I think we're focused very much on first-time filmmakers or early filmmakers. And at any point, if there's any questions you guys have, feel free to reach out to us. And on that note as well, is there any ways that people can reach out to you? What are the best ways to reach out to you regarding pitches or coffee dates or things like that? Are you guys comfortable giving out some information, or are there resources that they can go through to sort of talk to you a little bit about things?
Yeah, people can probably through Instagram, like messaging me through Instagram. So my handle is at the Samantha Wan. You can totally message me through there. Then I will get back to you through that. That's probably the best way to message me. Or like if I'm doing other things or wondering what I'm doing, it is all there.
I'm not a social media person at all, so don't message me there. Somebody else will be answering those questions. The best way to me is if you have gone through every single page of reelworld.ca, and if you've gone through every page of Access Real World, and if after all of that you have a question, because we've put every answer to every question on these things, then there's an email list of how ways that you can contact any of us at Real World. But I find that people don't read any of this stuff, and they just want to connect with me. They just want to talk to me. You just want to talk to people. I'm an introvert, so I don't have that desire. But I was just like, I can't make your career for you. I can't open just these random doors, and I can't find you the road to success. But I'm doing everything I possibly can to lay out on a website and on things and how you can do those things. So take the time and at least read all the work I put into that first.
And you can find me on LinkedIn, just under my name, and message me on LinkedIn if anyone wants to reach out.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for hopping onto this panel. I think we learned a lot today about how we can really work to be more proactive for our careers, whether we're just starting out or whether we are midway through. If you guys have any closing remarks or anything else you kind of want to touch on before we sort of hop off, feel free now. But I think this was a really, really great session.
I wanted to say just really quickly a couple of things, because at Real World, our submissions are now open. So put your films in and submit your films and learn all about what those guidelines are and what we're looking for on the website. Our E20, Emerging 20, which is a lot of you, it sounds like, that would be interested to know how to get into this industry. It's a free incubator program. So read all about that and submit your projects and try to get in on that. We have a ton of industry panels. In fact, we have one coming up in just a few weeks, which is co-production between South Africa and Canada, and learning about that and how does that work. And we're actually going to be executing a bunch of ones around the co-pro and different countries. So we always have stuff. Go on the website and it's there for you, a tool for you. Reelworld.ca.
Great. Thanks so much for that, Tanya. Samantha, Tanya, if you have any resources you want to share before we hop off, feel free. Go ahead.
You had some, Samantha, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was like, is that weird though? I'm just going to share a bunch of resources like suddenly at the end of the reel. Yeah, I mean, WIFT was one of the ones I was like, WIFT, check out WIFT. This is a good place where you can learn things. I do. They have some really, really great programs, and also just great meetups that WIFT does as well. And sometimes they also sponsor certain things to do certain things. Like it's great in that way. Women on Screen is another one. If you're specifically if you are a screenwriter, because they will help you develop something and then get it read. The other one, Ink Drinks. Again, that's more so if you're a writer, but again, it's a great, great community. That I'm just putting them all in here. Yeah. Oh, and of course, like BIPOC Film and Television is another great resource for people you should be following as well. So make sure BIPOC Film
and sign up for Telefilm and CMF newsletters.
Yes.
Great to tell you what's happening in the industry.
And women in animation. So WIA is also really great. They have chapters in Canada, across Canada, and in the US. They're also great. They have good workshops if you're into animation specifically.
Great.
No, that's fantastic. Sign up for Real World newsletter.
Yes.
Yeah, and like sign up for these things because, again, like we said, make it easy for people to find you. The easier you make everyone's life to find you and hire you, the more likely it'll happen. And follow up. Don't listen to that voice that makes you think you're a boring person. Like, follow up. Just do it many times.
Absolutely. Always follow up. I can definitely. We don't think you're boring or wrong. We just definitely didn't see your email or we forgot to reply. remind us that you emailed us. So follow up, always follow up. Thank you guys so much for hopping onto this. This was a great session. You guys shared such great insights. Really, really appreciate the opportunity to come on here and speak with you guys. I think that brings us to a close. We've hit 3 p.m. So before people start yelling at me, I think we'll wrap this up. But yeah, I hope you guys got as much out of this as I did. And finally, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Great meeting all of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.